have had all the shame you can imagine.
Welcome, friend. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for always coming back to check out the new episode. And if you're new, I am honored that you're joining us. Where are you? You're about to find out. I have another amazing special guest because all of my guests are special, and I have more special guests coming on. But today we have a new friend from outside of London, England. Her name is Louise. Louise is an incredible poet. She is also a writer, a photographer, and a single mother of 3 children. Louise will be sharing her life story. You've joined me on Life and Faith Chats. My name is Joy. I'm blessed that you've chosen to stop by my podcast, and may you be blessed and encouraged by this 2-part chat. So you've got to come back. And on the second chat, ending part of the chat, Louise shares some of her poetry also. Let's welcome her and let's listen to the life nuggets that this amazing young woman has to share with us. Come on, let's get started with this chat.
Okay, I think it's hard to know where to start. I feel like sometimes you need to start at the end and then travel back. So like you said, right now I'm a writer and a poet and a photographer. I have like a family Instagram where I'm single parenting 3 children. And I have also my poetry Instagram. And the reason for all of this now is a Brené Brown quote, actually, where she says that shame loses its power over us when we share our stories. And I have had all the shame you can imagine. I very much carried that. It was very heavy. And the thing I think for me is when it comes to sharing is that looking back now, when I was in the thick of things, when I was trapped in that situation, it's seeing somebody that's on the journey that you feel stuck on, that's ahead of you, that gives you hope, gives you strength, and enables you to do it. So that's where I'm at now. I got to that point because I was in an abusive marriage. He was my second husband. So I had gotten married quite young. I think I was 21 when I first got married, and I did everything the Christian way. I thought it was supposed to be done. You know, I ticked off all the boxes on the piece of paper, and I got married and I had a child. And then when it became incredibly clear that was not working, and I had people, well-intentioned people, but people from church that would put on me that it was not God's best for me to leave my husband. It was not okay, and so then there was all of this shame again, as well as the failure and all the pressure I was putting on myself, because this was not what I had meant my life to look like. I had been in a broken home. My dad drank, my mom was depressed. It was hard. And all I had ever wanted was to build my own family and have that very much, like the white picket fence existence, and have my own children and love them better and build this fairy tale life. And that was just not how it was going. So there was that. And then off the back of that, from my marriage not working to just feeling very much. Ooh.
Kindly explain a little bit more what you meant when you said that you had done all of the Christian things.
Yes, I met the guy. We both worked as youth workers in Christian things. I was a virgin on my wedding night. I had the fairy tale church wedding. I literally, if it was a list, like I'd have checked off all of the boxes, everything. I made a smart choice. I didn't just run away with my heart. I used my head. There was, I thought I'd nailed it. I really did. I thought that was going to be it forever. And then that not working out came as a genuine shock to me. Like once I got to the point where I felt so miserable in my own life that I didn't want to get out of bed anymore. And then there's the added guilt from that my child deserved the best of me and I wasn't giving it, or at least I was really having a massive psychological battle to be able to give it. And so then off the back of that, I just felt like very broken. I felt like damaged goods, I think, because I had waited to, and I lost my virginity on my wedding night. And then there's a lot of quite damaging sort of notions put on to young girls, especially in church, that you lose your purity and you are damaged and that you're like, somehow you're less worthy. And I really, really struggled with carrying that. And also, like we have this, people say what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. But actually that runs on the assumption that all marriages are something that God put together. And when you think about it, that's just illogical. Like when Britney Spears runs off to Vegas and marries a backup dancer, that's not God. Like that's just us being stupid. It's not. And so it was really freeing the moment that I realized that just because you get married doesn't mean it was God's plan. Sometimes it's just you trying to figure your life out without him.
That was golden. That's what I would call a wisdom nugget.
It took a while. I learned that the hard way. So I was carrying all of this, and then I ended up, I think, just a bit too susceptible to just hearing all the things I wanted to hear and not actually questioning them. And I had said, like, I never want to get remarried again. I'm not being in that position. I don't want to wake up next to somebody who is there just because it's too much effort to leave me or because there's paperwork involved. I don't want that for my life. I would rather be alone than be with somebody and be unloved.
Boom! Was there any encouragement or counseling that you received from your church, you or your ex-husband, that you all received for the marriage or just the relationship as you struggled through this period in your life?
No, there really wasn't. And I left church then for a long time because I couldn't cope with the feeling of being judged every time I walked in the door.
Ezekiel 34:4, you have not taken care of the weak. You have not tended the sick or bound up the injured. You have not gone looking for those who have wandered away and are lost.
And again, so that probably on top of just the shame that I was carrying and all the confusion, because I genuinely just was naive and I thought, like you get married and that's it, you're done. Got life all sewn up. And so then I ended up in a really dangerous relationship and I ended up getting remarried again, even though I didn't want to. And I got pregnant really quick and I miscarried. And then that was a lot. And so then I got pregnant again. I had my rainbow baby and then I was pregnant again, just pregnant a lot. And it was a lot and it was a lot of pressure. And because of that, I couldn't, I was 8 months pregnant when I got remarried because I just didn't feel like there was an option where that isn't what I had to do. So in the end, I ended up in an abusive marriage. And and then he started drinking all the time as well, which is what finally really broke me. Like my dad had drank, my grandfather had drank. And it was the one thing I didn't actually realize that the rest of the abusive relationship was as bad as it was until I was in counseling afterwards. And but the drinking, it broke me. And I just had to put my foot down. Like I was co-sleeping with a newborn baby and my husband was getting into bed drunk. And I was up all night, every night, terrified, just trying to keep my baby safe. And he started smoking again and just all of these things that were damaging my child. And in the end, I snapped and I had told him he had to leave. But as with all, I think, abusive relationships, I didn't understand the power of the trauma bonding that had been going on for all of this time. So I went back and forth for about a year afterwards until I finally started to see things a little bit clearer. And it was during that time, like when I first left him, I had this support group that was for people living with addicts. And I was reading through her blog. It was late. I was upset and I was just scrolling through her blog and this one Bible verse popped out. And it was, is it Genesis 50:20? I feel like I'm going to be wrong about that. And that's going to be embarrassing. It was, you intended it to harm me, but he intended it for good. what is now being done, the saving of many lives. And it was in that moment, it just hit me so hard in my gut, like somehow all of this is not going to have been for nothing. And that really started me on this journey. It's been like almost 4 years now. And it's been a long, long journey. I've had a lot to learn. But every time that I use my story and the more I learn about how in Christ, absolutely nothing is ever really lost. Like, my God, he redeems. And there is nothing so lost that he cannot make it for good. And the further I go on with that, the more I realize how important everything I've been through is and how many women there are in this situation. The first time I posted about it on my Instagram, I was absolutely terrified. I'd written it for somebody else to put on their blog, and they did that. And then I wasn't going to post it. And it was a month or so afterwards. Eventually, I didn't even reread it. I just clicked, copy and pasted it and put it on there. And since that, for like a year after that post, at least one woman every week messaged me that she was in the same situation. And that's the point at which I could really start to see God in all of this and how it was unfolding and how I could be there. You know, like there are people who get through the fire and they stay on the other side, and there are people who get through the fire and they pick up buckets of water and they go back for those that are still in there. And it just became very clear to me that God had built me to be a bridge in that situation. And that is where I am at now, figuring it out.
I love that you said that you are a bridge. I wonder if that's what we're all called to be. I also like the fact that you said that it's not the end of the story.
I've got a lot to learn still.
Louise, when you were talking, you shared about trauma bonding. Could you kindly explain about that a little bit more?
Yeah, so that's especially when you're in a narcissistic abusive relationship, but generally any kind of abusive relationship, trauma bonding it feels like being in love. It's like you really genuinely cannot, well, I suppose if you knew what real love felt like, you could tell the difference, but generally if you're in that position, you don't. And it feels a lot like you just think you're in love, but it's the process that the abuser takes whereby they love bomb you. So they will tell you all the things they know you need to hear. They will make massive promises. They will just be so attentive and loving and incredible and just make you feel like you are the absolute luckiest person in the whole world. And that will be right before or generally right afterwards. It's like a constant cycle between that and them putting you down, shredding all of your insecurities, pushing all your buttons, raping you, bruising you, whatever form that your abuse is taking. And then they do this over and over again, and you get caught in this cycle to the point where then they begin to question your sanity. That's when they start gaslighting you. They start saying that you're wrong, that you're lying, that it's all in your head, that you're probably bipolar, that maybe you should see the doctor. You know, my husband used to hurt me whilst he was being nice to me, and I didn't understand. I got to the point where I thought that there was something, I thought maybe I had a blood disorder, it sounds crazy now, but at the time he would be telling me all of these wonderful things and he would be holding me, but he would be digging his fingers into the pressure points along the backs of my arms. So whilst he was being so incredibly nice to me, I would be squirming to get away because I was in pain and I couldn't understand. So then he would get cross because I was the bad guy and I just didn't understand all of the complexities of what was going on. And I started getting like little bruises, and I have a really high platelet count in my blood. So like if I go paintballing, I do not bruise. So I was really worried. And this is what led me to think maybe there's something wrong. Maybe my blood is changing. Something is wrong because it shouldn't hurt. My husband is holding me and he's being nice to me and telling me how much he loves me. And it's physically painful. And that doesn't make any sense. And so you get caught in this cycle. And then it also provides them then with an excuse to start an argument with you, to attack you, to do whatever, to start putting you down, to start telling you that you're crazy. And it's just a constant thing. And that is what creates trauma bonding, whereby once you leave, like you think that getting out is going to be the hard part. And it's just not. Staying out is the hard part, because it's a genuine addiction. It works just the same as any other addiction.
Wow, friend. Wow. I'm stopping for now. But we're not done chatting. And we need you to come back and listen. Louise goes on to share more about trauma bonding. Also, I asked her about what a rainbow baby is. And I can also share with you and tell you that I've learned a lot. I am thinking that you heard some things that you were not expecting to hear. I'm also thinking that you were touched in different ways, and maybe you even identified with some things. I know I did. We're all in different parts of our journey, all in different parts. And we are bridges to help encourage one another. That's what these chats are for. Thank you for blessing me by listening, by subscribing, by encouraging, by watching. Please bring a friend. Please share this video and this podcast. And you've got to come back to listen to the rest of part 2. Plus, I'll tell you a secret. Come closer. Louise shares some of her poems. They're a blessing. They'll bless you as they did me. Thank you. And as always, peace.